We're rolling.
Hi, everyone. I'm Judy Mayer, and welcome to Obscuria Filmcast, where we cover obscure films and some not obscure films that some of us love and others of us love to hate. Before we continue, please subscribe to our channel so you can watch all of the videos that we've done so far. So this week, Sean made his selection. It's a 2016 film called The Void. And Sean, would you take it away?
Yes. The Void the synopsis is a mismatched group of people, including a pregnant woman and her grandfather, two police officers, and a trio of country folk, and a handful of medical staff find themselves under siege from mysterious cultists in a hospital which is preparing to close down. As the film progresses, it is revealed that the hospital stands on a portal to a hellish dimension, and several of the group begin to transform into eldritch monstrosities. The only remaining doctor in the hospital is secretly one of the cultists and is attempting to bring down other dimensional creatures through the portal, but it is ultimately stopped by one of the survivors. So, little background into The Void. I used to just Google trailers and watch them for links at end. And I saw this one, The Void. It looked cool. I saw the trailer, so blown away by it. I immediately Googled for NYC showtimes, and it was playing at 11:30 at the IFC in the little room. And I just went there right then, and I sat there the whole time. There was like 12 other people in the little room off to the right, if you ever been to the IFC Center. And got my popcorn and diet soda and watched the whole thing. Nobody made a sound the whole time. It was very respectful, and I was like blown away. Like, what did I just see? This is fantastic. And then when it came on Netflix, I saw it again, and then I saw it one other time, and then I saw it again in preparation for this film cast, and it's Canadian, and Canadians know how to do horror. I don't know if it's the cold north or whatever, but they do, and that's why I chose The Void. The budget for The Void was around $80,000, and
It was a Kickstarter.
It was, yeah, because the production team is at like 5 dudes that they do weddings and stuff, and they raise money. The budget was $80,000, and the draw was about 113,000, which is like a profit. You usually got to aim for double, but whatever. It was still a fantastic movie. So, Abram, what was your impressions of it?
I was really impressed by the production quality for the budget. I mean, I couldn't, I think it made me feel like nobody really has an excuse anymore. If they want to make a movie, they can make a movie. And I know people say that horror movies tends to be like easier to make on a small budget because you not only do you not have to hire big name actors, but that oftentimes detracts from the quality of the film. So you can hire lower paid actors, but the other side of that is that to make an independent horror film look really good, you have to have a lot of technical know-how that you wouldn't need for a normal kind of a movie that doesn't have so much gore and violence and whatever. So it's always very, like, again, I'm not the biggest horror guy, but it's always very interesting for me to see or try to figure out how these filmmakers try to problem solve to get the special effects the way they wanted to get them. And, it seems like they used a lot of creative adjustments to make the film look the way it did. And, so, yeah, that, and I mean, I thought from a story standpoint, yeah, it was kind of interesting. The buildup was good. The tension was really good. The ultimate thing, it doesn't really make any sense to me. I mean, it's kind of like off sort of off the walls. It gets weirder and weirder, and kind of like one critic said, stupider and stupider as it goes along. Yeah, I kind of agree with that, but that, I don't mind that because I don't. It's not a movie. It's a campy movie. I mean, it's a silly campy movie. It's you know, but it's beautiful. I mean, and I think the tension is really good, and the humor I thought was really good. Like the writing was really funny, and and the chemistry between the different characters was really good. I don't know really what else to say. I mean, what do you guys think about what I'm saying?
Seth, what did you think?
I liked it. Overall, I thought it was a great Halloween movie. It's obvious these guys love horror. Like they love The Thing. They love Carpenter. They love there's aspects of The Thing and Prince of Darkness all through this movie. Like the fact that it's there's the cursed church in Prince of Darkness, and the homeless people start coming to it, and then people start mutating inside the church. That's the same thing with the hospital. And then the effects are awesome because they're not CGI.
Yeah, they had a creature shop.
They have a creature shop, like an old school, like The Thing. Yeah. And the makeup is also not CGI.
Yeah,
which
it's
is a
all
dying
old
art.
school. Old
It's
school makeup.
Old school. And that always makes it for better acting because you're not going like this. Am I looking at something right now? You're actually like looking at something that's here. Like the puppet is there. So like I really believed like when that thing was like trapped behind the hospital bed, I was like, oh no, this is terrible.
That was the end of Reanimator.
Yeah, Reanimator.
It was the end of Reanimator.
Like cosmic horror, and also Hellraiser. The guy's like kind of like Pinhead at the end with Leviathan in the sky at the end of Hellraiser 1. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
They all worship the flying Toblerone bar, it looks like, in Hellraiser. And here there's this pyramid in the sky. And I like Canadian filmmaking in general. Like I love David Cronenberg is like my favorite.
They know what they're doing.
Filmmaker. They know what they're doing. The actors are all unknown, which I like in a horror movie because I know that I know that if George Clooney's in a horror movie, they're not going to kill George Clooney. Or they are, and it's going to be like a Deep Blue Sea thing with Samuel Jackson or how they killed Spock in the beginning of Star Trek 2, but they didn't really do it. Like the Psycho kill, where Janet Leigh gets killed in the first 20 minutes of Psycho, but she's billed as a star. Here you don't know any of the actors, so it's great. You don't even know if that's a thing they usually do as an actor, like some of their tics, or if it's a character, which I also love. And the first sequence, and I've seen this in other movies, but I don't know where they took it from exactly. The woman screaming. There's also a woman in the beginning of a Cronenberg, one of his first movies. I think it's Shivers, I think, where they're like holding her down and trying to like, you don't know, you just see it and you're like, what's happening to this poor girl? And in this, what's happening to this woman? And these two guys, these bruisers, pour gasoline over her. And then he lights a cigarette and he lights her on fire. And, if you saw that and didn't know you were watching The Void, it's horrific because they've just done, you know nothing about that girl yet. Or the cultists or the mutations.
Or the guy who runs away.
Yeah, you don't know you don't know anything about them. So the opening is like particularly horrifying. I do think this is one thing, and it's an overall note in all horror movies, really. You rarely can pull it off. As soon as people put on what the monster is, and people put on boxing gloves to like fight the devil or the monster, it ceases to be frightening to me. And a lot of people I've heard say that about films.
What do you mean? You mean when everybody starts gearing up and there's going to be a fight?
When people put on their boxing gloves and are like, I'm going to fight the supernatural thing, it ceases to be scary.
Sometimes,
Why?
yes.
Because you're relating to something that someone can put on boxing gloves with. It reduces
The danger.
the horror and makes it just like another kind of movie.
It removes the element of unknown.
Yeah.
Well, it also ruins the element of the predator prey relationship,
Mhm.
because once you put the gloves on and you decide you're going to fight, then it becomes a fight. When you're there's a big difference between two entities fighting with each other and one entity running away and hiding from an entity that's trying to hunt them.
Yeah, and if they fight the person, it's not certain death. But if they don't fight, then it's still unknown. Judy, what was your initial impression of the film? Because you hosted a horror show in the past, and you're
Yeah.
as an expert. So how did you get? What was your
I use the
feel?
word expert very lightly, but fan for sure.
Well, you're at least as smart as I am, and I'm a genius. So.
Oh, thank you. So I liked the shock value of the beginning. I thought it was a nice draw in because typically you have like 5 minutes, maybe even less of a horror film. I feel like you've got like 2 minutes to set the tone. And I'm either going to turn it off because the quality and the acting is so terrible that I just don't want to dedicate the time to it. But with this one, there was something notable about the brutality of it, because I was like, okay, who is this woman? But I still don't know, why did they kill that woman? So this might get into spoilers. So if any viewers want to stop now before we go through even more details, even though I think you got a pretty good sense of the movie before that. But I did have some questions about it, but I'll save that. So I'll save that for a little bit later.
Yeah.
But I have questions about some of the characters. I will say the Dr. played by
Powell.
Kenneth Welsh. That was another thing. I recognized him and I was like, I feel like I've seen him before.
He was
So
around.
when he wasn't around that much, it sort of did clue me into like what Seth was talking about, where I was like, why is that actor there? I've seen him in a bunch of stuff. Why do we only have that little part? Anyway, and I was like, he looks like a bad guy. So I like that they sort of shocked you, but it wasn't brutal enough for me to go, oh, I don't want to watch this movie, right? If you're into sort of, because I personally am not a fan of like the torture porn films, right? That started with like
Saw. Final Destination.
and the Saw franchise. Like, I'm not a fan of that. So I was kind of like, oh, I hope this isn't one of those like torture porn ones. But then it got more off into a story. So it sort of had that shock value. And then it morphed into, something else. I loved the quality of it, especially knowing that it was shot on such a low budget. And I did like that I didn't always know what was going on. So it wasn't completely obvious. Like, I did have questions, and there were moments too that surprised me. But I did have some questions that I was like, I don't know if they totally wrapped that up. And I think that was a choice on the filmmaker's part. At least I'm hoping, unless it was the writers not really knowing. But that's another technique too that you could say, is that they don't know and they'll let you try to figure it out.
Right. So now I'll recommend, if you want to watch The Void 2016, it is available on Tubi, free with advertising, as well as other, I think Amazon Prime for like $3.
Yeah.
So there you go. It's free or like $3. And what was I going to say? Oh, so spoiler alerts. To me, spoiler. Yeah. So now we're going to get into it. To me, it seemed a lot like Phantasm. Anybody here seen Phantasm? No,
I haven't, but I know you love Phantasm.
It's a masterpiece.
We talked about Phantasm during Beastmaster because it's the same director.
Right? Yeah. And because Phantasm has it gets into the other dimensional stuff, kind of like this movie. And I read by the production team, which is like 5 guys who originated it. 2 of those guys wrote and directed out of these 5 from 120 Decibel Films or 120 DB Films. They're Canadian. and I think they do weddings and stuff and other stuff. And one of those guys has a creature shop that he makes all those like alloys and like whatever else. And it does save on money if you just know where to go. You'll spend 30 grand or whatever the hell. I just think it's funny. The budget for this is about the cost of a less decent college education. That's all I'm saying. So you could spend 4 years in college or just put all your money together and make a movie like this. That's what I got. But
how much is it? Do they have a website for weddings? And
they did, yeah.
And can you have a creature come to your wedding?
I'm sure they do. I'm sure Judy would have opted for that if she knew she had the choice of like a creature. No, all right, it's all right.
You wouldn't have had a horror
you.
wedding? Come on. I wasn't even invited to the wedding.
But even in the opening, I like that too, because what Judy was saying, you could tell within 3 minutes if you're going to like this horror movie or not. And if it goes with the jump scare in the first 3 minutes, it's like, I guess, fine. I don't mind jump scares. I like them. But in the, when you're setting the tone, that's why the scene in that house in the middle of nowhere, two people run out. One dude runs away. The girl gets shot. They light her on fire. And then the stories that they have to go after the guy in the woods. But as the story goes, that guy runs into the cop, and the cop goes, he has a choice between two hospitals. He chose the closer one. They're getting shut down. And so we're in that John Carpenter feel of like one place enclosed in, like the thing with the gas station, Prince of Darkness in the church, so, you're there. And it really, got up there for me. Also in the beginning, they had those montages, which for me were beautiful. And it really balanced everything out. It made it kind of more artsy. Abrams said it was campy, and that's true, even though the film did take itself seriously, which is why I think camp, if it takes itself seriously, I enjoy that. To me, it just makes it more
campy
because the effects look like they're from the 80s. I think it's
like 80s throwback, kind of like It Follows was like an 80s.
But it's done it's campy, but in a very sophisticated way. So
that's what because it takes itself seriously.
It's not camp like the old Batman. It's camp like, like it looks like an
so extreme. But it's so extreme as what Abram was saying, like before it gets crazier and crazier, because it's just like this one incident. You thought you're dealing with two lunatics. Something else. Because there's these dudes in these white sheets with like a black triangle on a face.
Yeah, who the hell are those people?
They were the cultists. So remember when the skinny guy, he was saying, they were like, "Who's this guy? What are you from? Something." And the kid's like, he's crazy. They watch us have sex. They give us crystal meth. He calls it a church, and he takes pictures of us.
That's all of the people in hoods?
Yes.
Those are all the congregants to this like weird sadistic sex church?
Yes.
And then the doctors, like the weirdo doctor at the end, like Nazi Hellraiser dude.
Yes.
Whatever the hell he is. He's the high priest of this whole thing.
Yes. But he started the whole thing.
Yeah. He's after the death of his daughter, which I think was the wife of. Wait, was Allison his daughter?
No.
Where I get confused.
No, it's okay. The sheriff and the head nurse, they were married.
Yeah.
They divorced because their baby died, and that led to their divorce. Then Dr. Powell had a separate daughter with his separate wife. She died, so Dr. Powell's like, "To hell with this. I could end death. I'm going to end death. I'm going to write triangles on the floor and pray to something older than God." And that's what's cool about Lovecraft.
This is we should mention that this is a Lovecraft inspired work.
But it's like, it's weird because it's inspired by people.
You said Lovecraft, and you said Lovecraft almost like it's like you took it for like, I don't know, just like it was so obvious. I would.
Well, no, it's
never
weird.
Occurred to me.
No. Well, it's weird because it's not directly based on Lovecraft, but it's inspired by the people who were inspired by Lovecraft.
We're talking about the writer H.P. Lovecraft.
H.P. Lovecraft.
Yes. So H.P. Lovecraft, early 20th century, inspired some other people. They wrote stuff. That stuff inspires people today. So it's like once removed directly. So it's kind of cool.
But did you just get that from watching it, or did they actually have people written up this film and discussed
No,
it?
I got it. Well, I got it from watching it, and then I found an article about it.
This
Okay.
this
I
has
think the
aspects of
filmmakers-
Lovecraft. Whenever something older than God is being
Oh, okay.
worshipped, people
Also-
are going insane through knowledge. There's a cult. Monsters tend to be unshapable things.
It's like that it's kind of like that pre-modern panic that you have in narratives from that period of time. Like people are seeing the whole world changing so quickly that I think that's why science fiction in general got really popular around that time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we're kind of in that sort of cycle again. I mean, everything in the culture, like everybody feels like really uneasy about the future. Like a lot of big things are about to change, and all these new technologies and whatever are on the forefront. And I think horror and that kind of weird, like tinkering with these normative narratives type of an impulse. I don't think it's a coincidence that people made this movie in 2016 when like everybody seemed so weirded out about the future. And yeah, I get it.
And also, one last thing about that Lovecraft thing, another element we didn't mention is that with Lovecraft, there is no God, but there are creatures
Yeah.
that are viewed as gods. So that's his whole thing. That
Yeah, it's like a pagan type of thing.
it's
They're
like a pagan thing.
called-
We're just a rock in space. We're just a rock hurling through space, and all we have is ourselves. And there's some things that are ancient and great that we see now and pretend to be. They have the power of gods, but they're not God. So that's like another thing, because Christianity is totally unrelated in this. When he was writing these things, he was a weird man too.
Yeah.
He was a
Basically-
strange guy.
Basically, the concept of his Lovecraftian mythos is the old ones are shut away in another dimension. They go into this this also inspires Hellboy. The old ones are in another dimension. And there's one old one called Cthulhu or Cthulhu, because you can't pronounce it, who's the gatekeeper. And if you can reach Cthulhu, he'll open all the gates and the old ones will come through, and that's the end. But
So-
if you even see that this is going on, you go insane.
You go and say, so Abram, remember those montages of like the gray mist, the barren plain, the giant pyramid, the noise, all of that is Lovecraftian in nature, which is kind of cool, because with horror films, it's either there's the devil or a dude in a suit. There's very limited options of the bad guy. You got to fight Satan or a killer or a ghost. This is another option.
Or a boogeyman type of
Or a
thing.
boogeyman. Yeah, there's always like a guy in a suit. So, but now
Yeah.
there's something else here.
But the thing is, like, it's almost like the film doesn't really reveal the religious framework with clarity until the end. But
And the end is classically Lovecraftian because they end up in a dimension we don't know what's going to happen to them.
No turning back. That's another Lovecraft thing. There's no turning back.
Yeah, there's a website I found called millennialstar.org where they said, I'll just read it quickly because I was like, oh, that makes sense. Lovecraftian is a cosmic horror. Lovecraft created anti-mythical, maltheistic stories where human beings not only don't have a special relationship with reality, but that reality is actually hostile to us. In a typical Lovecraft story, an investigator will discover some intriguing detail that seems out of place, perhaps a finely carved statue of ancient origins, but advanced technology. The investigator looks into this anomaly and he discovers some awful truth about reality. This often takes the form of discovering that an ancient god is going to awaken and enslave us, devour us, or breed us. Now that the investigator knows the truth, he can never be at peace again. He might commit suicide, go insane, or just live out his days knowing too much and hoping the worst does not happen while he is still alive. And that's basically sums up the Doctor. He goes down that rabbit hole of discovery and discovers how he could beat death and opens the portal.
Oh my God.
That's sort of like it's kind of meta narrative that's relatively recent. I mean, I think you know, it's this sort of nihilistic kind of religious framework that it's even worse than nihilism. It's it's that like not only does nothing mean anything, but you're just a little like lab rat being experimented on by some other like more and like just like you do it to other creatures as humans. You're just another creature's being, you know, whatever,
Exactly.
by some other higher creature, and then there's higher creatures from there, and almost like maybe an infinite regress, and there's no real meaning to any of it. But you know, I always find that it just that I like it. I like that they do that and they indulge in it because there's a certain dark side I think within all of us that like we wonder if maybe like is the world is nature like sadistic and malevolent, and at the end of the day like why are we born and then very soon after we're born realize that we're going to die pretty soon, and then the next generation is going to do it again and again. And it's bleak if you, well, because everybody wonders that at some point in their life if they have
Yeah.
enough of a consciousness to or orientation to do that. I think most people I know have fallen into those sort of, you know, states like is this maybe is this not only it's not meaningless, it's worse than meaningless. It's like it's just some sick twisted dark thing. And I
And
mean,
there's also the where do you go after, or is this it?
Well, there's nothing
yeah.
else. There's
It's
nowhere to go. This is it.
No, but
That's
in this case, there's a book or a way to study to like end death. So if you think of the average guy or woman or whoever gets their hands on this, they would probably use it.
yes. Yes, I just think it's weird. It's like there's shapes and symbols and chants that you can learn that you could control nature to its most horrific. And is it really bad? Because we're depending on where you are in the food chain, that's what makes the difference. What I really like too is like the structure of the screenplay because there is those montages of the gray smoke and like the landscape and all these things throughout the thing, and they kind of act like chapters, which I always thought was cool because it was like to me this is just a very smart screenplay, and I think the smartest screenplays have a way of structure because you're still an audience member sitting through time taking in this movie, so it's like how can the movie itself structure it so it could just get into your brain easier. And it's like, sometimes it gets like into all those episodes. And what I really liked, the big dude, his name was the father in the credits. That guy screams amazing. I love actors who flip out, and that was a good one. I even liked when he said, when the Asian nurse was like, we're all gonna die, and the big guy's like, fuck you, you're gonna die. I'm not dying, you're gonna die. I just like that. I just like that idea. And even I wanted to mention this because each one of the characters, they had like a mental challenge because Dr. Powell got into their heads and they had this monologue to themselves. Remember, with the big guy, he like got into his house and you saw pictures of his family, and then his son who couldn't speak. I think that was his son who like couldn't speak, came in there, and the guy flipped out and he's like, you should have protected them. And he started screaming. That was fucking awesome. All right.
Yeah.
So that was that
Yeah.
part, if you guys notice that, I also like that you said the handheld, because you're in such an enclosed space. You had a handheld camera. It just makes it seem like there's a more motion going on in there.
I'm a big fan of the handheld, using it like, choosing that wisely, not the whole necessarily a whole film where there's completely like shaky camera, but I think that if you don't do it in a way that like they did it in a way that it wasn't like, oh, it didn't beat you over the head with it. Like a lot of times they do that in horror movies to make you feel more uneasy. It's almost like the way they use like sound effects to like make you jump.
Yeah, they
This is
used it
kind
to as part of the storytelling, not as a tactic,
as exactly.
like a
Yeah.
device of like, ooh, let's get people to do this. It was part of the storytelling, which I think
Yeah.
should be in every film, really.
Yeah,
It should
agreed.
be all part, the decision should be made around the story instead of just, cheap thrills. But Sean, so back to my question earlier, any of you guys, why did they kill that woman in the beginning and set her on fire?
Because the big guy thought she was infected with the change. Because she
Okay.
was around all the symbols, and you have to burn it. When they become monsters, you have to burn it. And that kid got away knowing that he's going to infect other people with the change, which happens. Because remember the first, like the little
Who does he
nerdy guy,
infect?
huh?
Who does he infect?
Other people. Because remember in the hospital, he gets there and that nerdy kid in the gurney starts to change. Remember the Asian nurse was reading to him?
Oh yeah.
And he just he gets murdered because the nurse was in there with the sit and cutting off her face. And then Aaron Poole, the officer, his real name is Aaron Poole. He had a shooter. And then she wound up changing.
Mm-hmm.
That's why, I guess. Like,
So
if you
that guy
die,
basically
you change.
infected all these people and made them turn into.
Well, yeah. I guess they don't outright explain it, but later on, when they kill other creatures, they have to burn it to make sure that they die. Because just like killing it doesn't really do anything. Because I guess they're already dead or something. I
At
don't
one
know.
point, they say, I think, what was that? When there was a thing behind the,
Yeah.
and he goes, I think it was Beverly, right?
No,
Right.
no,
Not
Or was it
Beverly. It was,
no. The big dude said, "How the hell should I know?" So even the big dude didn't necessarily know what that creature was, but he just had the instinct just to put it out with fire, because I guess he had a same ordeal with his family. That's why he's trying to hunt it out.
How did he end up at that house, and how did he end up inside the house shooting?
That's not explained.
Okay.
Okay. So I don't know if I answered your question.
I'm just curious. I think it's one of those things where that's why I was saying, like, is it a choice? Is it something that I misunderstood? Because I only watched the film one time. But I was just wondering, like, how did they end up in the house? Why did they kill that woman? What is it that their goal was? Like, what was, and how did they know about, like, I guess they could have seen the people running, but why didn't they go after and try and kill those people? Like, those are just the questions that I have, and I'm not sure if they got answered and I just didn't catch it,
No.
or if the filmmakers just left that up for us to decide to have this conversation right now.
Yes, that was left to interpretation.
I
just dug that.
he represents like the type of character like Ash in Evil Dead, or Charlton Heston in what is it, Omega Man? Like the guy who's like been living in the town and dealing with this problem. Like he could have his own story, his own movie. That guy,
yeah. I thought he was a great because it's like the best supporting characters are also main characters. People don't that's to me, that's a fact. That's fact of life. And I just thought that was so great. Also, like the group, because I think they started out with 8 and it kept on getting smaller and smaller. That to me, that was just expert structure too, because then it's like Alien. When each person dies, there's a real impact, because then it changes all the circumstances. Because then the pregnant girl has to go in the back with the old man. They need a gun to protect themselves, with the Asian nurse doing what she could. She doesn't know anything, while the group have to go after the ex-wife nurse because she went off for medical supplies and then got kidnapped by Dr. Powell. And all these like fucking structures and stuff. And I'll tell you this, I love horror films. And if you get your characters to the top of a darkened staircase looking down, I was scared shitless. That staircase, if you can make a staircase look scary, that's what I'm saying. It's not like grotesqueness in as much. But as a filmmaker, if you can look at, you know what I'm saying? All right, go ahead, Julie.
Okay, the other thing that they did in the moment, and this is a writing choice, was they had them, I think I can't remember if it was right before, during, or after. They're on the walkie-talkie with the nurse girl, who was a great character, and she played the role really well.
Yeah.
But she goes, "There's no staircase there."
Yeah.
So she knows the outlay of the building, and they're going, "Do we go down the stairs?" And she's going, "There's no staircase." And then they show you the staircase, and you're like, "No, where's that going?"
Because
You
it's
know?
like
And so
yeah,
they drop clues, because then they go to the guy and they're like, "Tell us what you know. I saw the picture." And he's like, "The bodies." And then you see the bodies and you're like, "Oh my God, what do they do with the?" So I think they left breadcrumbs there. So I think too, like, so I worked on a horror film once, and they kept, when like people would have questions about the story or the script, they were like, "Ah, we'll figure it out in post."
Yeah.
It's like, never figure it out in post.
That's a bad.
Like,
Once you
these
start
films-
saying that, that's
like,
bad.
these filmmakers, they really made their choices, and it was really well paced.
Yes.
You
It's
know, it might not
structured.
be perfect, but I think they did an excellent job with what they had, and probably had so much fun.
Actually, I could add to that too, because when the first creature was there, because remember there was 2 cops originally. One of the cops
Yes.
who arrives died. Okay, so that death was handled very well, because I even like when the older cop gets eaten and taken down, the first cop's like, "I got to go in there," and he goes in there and he goes around the corner. If you remember, one of the fluorescent lights off the ceiling was swinging like this.
Yes.
And I'm like, that's such a smart idea from a filmmaker's point of view. It's like, how can I make this more intense? And it's as simple as swinging a light, and you come around and stuff, and then you do the excellent editing with the creature. You show enough, but not a lot, and you see that's all wet and moist, which is kind of makes it more gross and whatever. And even as an audience member, it's fun participating in the spectacle. So you almost want to make believe that's a real creature doing this. What is that? That was handled so well. I had to write that down because it was phenomenal to me.
Yeah. The other thing that I liked too that they did with the characters and the writing is that I did feel that each character, I mean, maybe not every single one, but I think the majority of them they were, 3-dimensional. They weren't just like, oh, you have this character and that character. Like, they all had their storylines, which is perceived as a viewer when you actually care what happens to the person, right? So there was no one that like died that I was like, good. I was like even in the beginning when she's like stabbing him in the eye, I was like, oh no. And I just he was in like one scene talking to the girl, but they established a connection between the nurse and the patient. So then when you see him die, you're like, oh,
yeah,
you don't even know why. So I feel like they really did a good job of making you care. I mean, not that you're like in tears when these people die.
It's clever.
Not that you're not like, good, I couldn't stand that person. Thank God you finally killed them. Or the nurse, an actress could have easily come into that role where she's like, I don't know what I'm doing. And they could have been like whiny and being like, oh my God, would you just kill her already? But she played it in such a good way where you could see that like, she wasn't playing like the victim. She was like, holy shit, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, like your daughter will die if I operate on her. Yeah, like you don't get
her. You're like, oh God, she's got to do it, but like she can't do it. Like she doesn't want to do it. What's going to happen? But she didn't play it in such a way that I was like annoyed by her, which is very common in horror films.
Yeah.
Where you have these like cute girls that play the roles and they're just like victim crying and like, I can't do it. Help me.
Seth Michael, I got a question for you.
Okay.
So in one of the rules of the horror genre, one of the things you have to do is the investigation part of the story.
Right.
So every horror movie has an investigation part. An element of the horror film is how do you think the investigation was handled in this movie? There wasn't many exposition dumps, but it was a little at a time, and you had
It kind of isn't it's kind of like once they get to the hospital, everything is being done to them, and the only investigation is what's going on, right? There's no like beacon, like an alien. Let's go find out what the beacon is.
Right.
Oh, crap, something's on what's on his face. Like that whole, in this case, it's like, well, I want to know why that girl was lit on fire. But then there's a total separate story. And then he shows up So I guess this is connected. And then the cult is there and they're looking out like, who are those guys? So it's more of a series of questions.
Not only that, how come those guys aren't raiding in the place? That's another question, because there was all these dudes in triangle faces outside with knives, and if I were inside, I'd be like, how come they're just not rushing the place?
Yeah, why didn't they go in there? Weren't they
Exactly.
just trying to
Okay,
scare
the
everybody.
two guys in the beginning, there's a scene where they say something about the guys outside, and I think because they've interacted with them before, they say something. I have to go back and watch it. But
Which
they
with the
say,
father-son
"Understand
team?
we can't leave, or they won't let us. They're surrounding this place."
Yeah.
So
Are you talking about the father-son duo?
Yes.
Yeah.
They make some comment about that, about how they're like, you don't understand, we can't leave, or they're keeping us in here.
Yes. The cop in the beginning goes to the father guy. He's like, who are those? Who are they? And the father goes, hell should I know? Go ask them.
Yeah.
You know, so there's that, and then the whiny kid, when they realize they got to get the whiny kid some information, he's like, well, let me just get out of here, guys. And then they show the whiny kid outside. Go, you want to go?
Mhm.
You know, that I think that's
I just thought they were like the KKK and they were like, you know, observing what would be the cross burning on front of the hospital. Like,
well, it's like what's happening in the hospital. They don't want to interfere with.
but they want to make sure it happens.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why I would be more scared they're not coming back in. I would be more, you know, there's something worse behind me. If they're there, fine. There's something worse behind me. Abram, I got a question for you.
Okay.
Do you think this film handled the magical powers of the world well? Because there was like, remember the squad car? He parked right in front, and then later on when they're getting the shotgun, the squad car was like way down there. And there's like, I thought you parked it closer. Me too, whatever. So, and then like there was added stairs and stuff, and there was the inner space of the hospital was always changing. And then the weirdo dead bodies coming out when they found that special room. How did you think that all got handled?
I don't know. I mean, for a guy who really doesn't like loose ends, it makes me wonder. I'm curious how you gave this movie such a pass on things not being explainable or clear.
Right. I'll explain it.
But I'm not like that. And so it didn't bother me really at all. I was like, okay, I'm along for this ride. I like all this weird shit that's happening on the screen. I don't care if it doesn't all make that much sense to me. Like, I get the basic gist of it. The thing that I thought was just kind of like, I wasn't really convinced by the time it's like the guy and he's in his black suit and he's like some demigod now. By the time that happened, I was like, okay, right. I mean, like, I enjoyed the ride much better than I enjoyed the actual resolution at the end. I was just kind of like, I kind of thought the end was dumb. But it was okay. But I really just enjoyed the weirdness of the whole movie, and like it was to me, it was less like watching a movie and more like going to like a haunted house or like an amusement park of some kind of weird amusement
that's what
park.
it's like.
Because like it was very claustrophobic. I liked that. The whole like, I never know what's going to happen next. The interior shape of the space is changing, like some kind of earth shot. I liked all of that. But then when I found out what was causing it at the end, I was like, oh, give me a break.
Oh, really?
But I
that
thought it
final
was
scene.
funny. I thought it was absurdly funny. I just was like, okay. Like, okay.
And I love that stuff. It's so intense, and they have the triangle on the thing, and the narration was scary.
Yeah.
It has. Wait, what does
I wasn't
it say?
scared at
It has
that
all
point
come
anymore.
to this.
I thought the doctor was dumb. I thought the fact that the doctor was behind the whole thing, I thought that was dumb. I think it also kind of has some like H.G. Wells vibe, like Island of Dr.
Grandiosity
Moreau type of, just this like experimenting on the crazy doctor doing weird experiments on people. Like, it was fine. I just,
I think
a little
that's your.
trite.
It
But I
makes you
enjoy, like I
think of
said,
other films.
yes,
I
it
think that's
reminds
what
you
you're
of
getting
many
at.
films. Yes, that's why I like it. It's like going through the House of Horrors.
Mm.
It's not terribly coherent, but the experience is pretty rad.
It is like a House of Horror. It's like a modern House of Horror where there's like the Thing,
Yeah,
and there's like
the Blob.
the Blob, and there's like Hellraiser,
There's
and
like
there's
shapeshift
cultists.
and like the shape of the building, the interior architecture's
So it's like a
changing.
haunted house too,
Haunted,
haunted
yeah.
hospital, and people are like mutating and trying to kill you. So it
And
definitely
everybody from all these different walks of life at odds with each other's personalities band together to deal with it.
Hmm.
Like it's that adventure
And-
thing.
You know what I thought was cool? Two people survived in the end. I dug that. Actually, maybe even that and the nurse and the cop, because then in the end they're in this other dimension. And it's like, do they really like survive?
That's some survival, huh?
Yeah.
They
Are they
animated
survived?
hell.
If not, I just like it. I just like it when like, because in horror films, it's usually one person survives. And I just think that's always a cop out. You know, if the story demands three people or what they got to work together to get out, then three people survive, like whatever else. You're just milking it. If you have X amount of characters, do them one at a time. To me, that's not that cool. That's what slasher films. That's a slasher film. Every death is emphasized.
I got a
And
question.
it's just like, I don't know.
Did you see The Mist?
Yes.
Hmm.
Darabont's The Mist?
Yes.
Do you think this is as good as The Mist?
I think this is better than The Mist.
You think this is better than The Mist?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
You think the ending is better than The Mist ending?
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
I disagree.
All
I
right.
haven't seen The Mist. I will
Okay.
have to see it. I mean, like
Turns out he was gay the whole time. I'm kidding. That's not the
There's a
ending.
love scene between The Mist and the main character.
I almost
Mist is
want to. I almost want to say that this plot is borderline incoherent, but somehow it still kind of works. It's like,
Okay, so let me respond to the thing you said before, because I am nitpicky, I guess. But even when we did the Tenant, which is available, click and subscribe for the Tenant. What I said there is that all you got to do for me is build a world and stick to the rules. That's it. And to me, this really did kind of stick to the rules because they were making up the rules as they went along. You saw the effect of the magic, and then you saw, oh, maybe it's the triangles, maybe it's this. Wait, there's symbols here. There are things that are undead here, and then you're trying to piece it together. And he had a lot of monologues about his daughter. I dug those moments too. They handled those well too. Just like you see images with like a narration over it. It was artistic. I kind of dig that stuff. So you get more of a sense from Dr. Powell's point of view of like why he's doing all this, and he uses words like change, and you know that means death, but it's worse than death because you're not going to die. You're going to be something else, and it makes it even kind of worse. So that's why I asked about what Abram thought about like the magical the powers. That's why it's like, to me, it's like, if you worship a triangle, these things happen. I could live with that, as like a world.
I guess the thing for me is like, I have to say I'm not a aficionado of this genre of film. I'm really like I'm at a disadvantage. But like for me, like if I were to compare this film to the cannibal film that Judy chose, I'd say like the reason that film works is, to me, I guess on a like more masterful level of filmmaking, is because it milks as much as it possibly can out of one theme. This film is filled with themes, different types of magic, different types of things. Once you think it's going to be this and it's going to be that. Maybe it's on a super sophisticated level of storytelling that I just don't understand. But it's similar to my experience with the one other film that you picked, which is also, I mean, these films are all quite bizarre and totally appropriate for the show. But like Romeo is Bleeding was another one. I was like, the rules keep changing, or I don't know what to expect. I don't see the thread that holds this together in a way that, and maybe it's because I needed to watch it 5 times or something. like I did with Mulholland Drive before I could understand what the hell that movie was about. But like that's how it is with me in movies. But usually, if I see it once and I kind of don't get it, I'll either come back feeling like that was cool, I like that, I kind of don't get it, but like I'm not gonna go back to see it again because I don't think I'm gonna get it. Or wow, that was really crazy. I'm not sure I get it, but I'm so captivated by it that I'm gonna have to watch that again and again and again to figure it out. I got that more. I got that feeling with Romeo is Bleeding. I didn't really get it with this one. Um, Not to because those are two very different movies, but I'm just saying like this movie didn't leave me with this feeling like what the fuck just happened. It was like more just I know like you know it was fun. I had a good time. It was a nice ride.
It's
But
it's
like
lowbrow brilliant is what the New York Magazine would categorize.
lowbrow brilliant.
Lowbrow brilliant.
Yeah, I'll give
It's a
it
fun
that.
movie to
That's not
see
what I
again
would.
with friends.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's a lot. This film had a lot of merit to it. But me, I guess I'm the story guy.
Yeah.
If I have to put my story, and I'm my story guy hat on, you know, it's it's a little like confusing, a little in the weeds. There's a lot of loose ends that I didn't get, and I probably would get some of them if I watched it again. But maybe I think I'm just probably too dumb.
Man, no. If
No, I
it's
mean
the
that I don't mean
filmmakers.
that I don't even
All
mean
right.
that in like
Okay.
like
No, I'm just saying it's the filmmaker's duty to make a quality film. That's all I'm saying.
but I'm saying is I think you can make a quality like when I think about all the ingredients that goes into a film, I'm a very forgiving person. I can watch it like the Tenant, for example. Like let's bash the Tenant, which we've already reviewed. That film has a lot of narrative problems if you don't get in if there isn't something else about the movie that sucks you into that world and helps you suspend your disbelief. But for me it had so many things going for it, so many things that I like in a film that I was able to fill in the gaps of whatever I thought was going on that I couldn't tell for sure. um, I like this movie that you picked because I thought it was visually stunning. I was totally impressed by the acting was really good.
Wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean,
Let me
the
look up
chemistry
Aaron
between the
Poole.
characters was good. The masterfulness of the level of mastery, filmmaking mastery, and finesse to make this thing and make it work and hold it together and have a plot that makes sense. It's not like it doesn't make sense. I have to give it like based on grading on a curve, I have to give it an 8 out of 10.
I
Or
would I
9
was
out
giving
of
it
10.
an 8 out of 10. I would give it an 8
Based
out
on
of 10.
that. But if somebody told me that yeah, but if like the production, but that's because of like how I don't know. I think they really fucking pulled something great off with this film. But from this, but the it's not even the did I buy the magic this or that. It's just like I'm a guy when it comes to storytelling. I like to see a movie milk as few themes as possible for as much milk as possible. Get the most juice out of as fewest of themes. And this film to me didn't really do that, but that's fine because it did so many other things fantastically. So
How did you like the moral dilemma of the movie? It's like just because your loved ones die doesn't mean it has to be the end. We could bring them back. So where do you stand on that? Family dies, let them die, or would you bring them on back if you did some seances?
well, where okay, so we're talking about like the ending now.
Yes, and the whole thing, yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's why I don't really like Seth always points this out that you have these people trying to pull these pagan themes back into the the present day, and we fundamentally don't live in a pagan consciousness anymore. And so it's sort of difficult to do. And every time somebody seems to try to do it, it sort of ends up being like a Judeo Christian or Abrahamic sort of philosophical worldview with but using sort of like pagan symbolism. Because the meat of the heart of the matter is not like who this demigod and that demon and and powerful cult people and this whole hierarchy of demigods. That's not really the point. The point is these people, they don't want to see their loved ones die. They don't want to die, and there's some promise of eternal life. I mean, to me, it sounds very, you know, it sounds very Western to me.
Yeah.
And so it's sort of just like a fake. It's like kind of like a BS pagan thing. And this is what people always do with that pagan shit. Because at the end of the day, nobody wants to live in a pagan world where like you can be damned. Like this whole, you know, even modern Christian, like a lot of American Christian movements, they don't even have the whole hell
I'll
shit.
give you an example of paganism. Michael Crichton went to, I think it was Thailand. And he said, they told him, don't pat the kids on the head because it reduces their life. It makes their life shorter when you pat a kid on the head. They really believe that, like 100%.
It's where they keep their ancestors.
I don't know why.
That's why.
Yes, but people like that are believing that kind of stuff less and less all the time.
Right. But I'm just saying imagine a world where there's loads of that. You know,
Yeah, we still have little bits of that kind of shit in our Western culture as well. It's just not the dominant. Like, it's not like we truly like Russians don't really believe that like if you whistle indoors you're gonna lose all your money, like literally. They don't really believe that, but they still like get really irritated if you whistle indoors.
Right.
You know.
Oh.
I have a question. Why did the doctor, I'll just call him Devil Doctor, why did he need the cop? What was the draw? So there's two moments that I'm alluding to. He talks about the death of his daughter and that how it set him off on this path to defeat death and the meaning of death. And then there's this moment where he's talking about Allison and they cut back to so throughout the film, the doctor's like in his mind and he's like, and then he says to him at other points, like, I know you saw it. Right. And so he's like, knows that he sees it. And there's some sort of connection to the thread of them. And then if there's no meaning, there's when Allison is like dead or he like beheads her, I think. And the doctor says to him, when you lost your child, I could feel your relief at the loss of the child. So I'm wondering why they had that there.
I could explain
the connection. Any takers?
Yeah, I had it already.
I think he's just trying to turn him, right? He's the one he's closest
What does
to.
he need him to do? Because he already impregnated the girl who was supposed to have his daughter, but then it wasn't. It was just like another Lovecraftian.
I don't think I didn't interpret that as the evil Dr. Powell to want anything from Aaron Poole. His name is Daniel in the movie.
Yeah, I think he was just more of like a jab at him, being like, "You think you're so great and I'm so bad." Like,
okay,
I know what kind of evil lurks in your heart. You know? Not that it's even evil. It's just like,
it's just to get him to stop fighting. I think is why he stop fighting me because you know
what you're capable of.
Yeah.
You know what's.
But I guess my other question underneath it is, why did he need the doctor to sort of come there?
Wait, why did the doctor need Daniel?
The police officer.
Yeah, why did I thought Daniel was hunting him and finally got into the room. You know, so I don't think he was trying to entice Daniel to the evil triangle in the end. Oh yeah, I see your
I'm just curious of like, why not just like knock these people off? He just needed the girl to come down and have the baby but did he need to have the baby? What did the baby do?
The baby became the new body of his dead daughter.
Which, was kind of confusing for me too. So I agree with Abram at the end. I was like, you kind of lost me a little bit at the end. It felt like it was going, and then it just was sort of like,
It kind of got like a video game, you know, like you got to fight the boss at the end.
Yeah, it felt like exactly. It started to feel like a video game.
Yeah, it was just that last like 10 minutes. I was just like, Oh, okay. Oh, what's in the room? What's in the room? Okay, the triangle's opening, but now what does he need him to? I guess I was thinking.
Oh, I see your point. The evil doctor wanted Daniel to admit he wants his dead daughter back.
Okay, for what though?
So then the evil doctor could bring the dead daughter back into Daniel's body or something.
Okay, see
Really?
that's and something that I'm going.
You sure?
I feel like
Are
it
you
was sort
just
of like
Sure
this.
about that?
You sure about
You're
that?
about to climax and then you don't.
Wait,
You're like,
me?
oh, well, that kind of sucked.
Am I sure? Well, what else
Yeah.
could there be? You're talking about infinity and oblivion. Nothing's
Yeah.
bigger than
I want to
that.
hear about
I
climaxing.
just
and
felt like
not
the
getting-
ending. It just.
What are you laughing at, Abram?
I'm not laughing. I'm just.
No, but it's Oblivion. Oblivion. That's bigger than Star
Yeah,
Trek.
but how do you know that he wanted his baby to come back in his body? Where did you get that from?
No, well, I inferred that, but he just
How
wanted
did you
Daniel to
infer that?
admit he wanted the dead baby back.
You mean you just made that up?
No,
Sean,
I
Sean
saw the movie.
like something. He'll just make shit up to
Dude,
support
you
it.
make
Wait, don't I look like Jack Nicholson in The Shining? Honestly, look, I'm going
No.
for it. No, yeah, I do.
you
I
have
do.
to,
I think
you have
on
to
this
do
note,
it.
we need to conclude this film and let other people know how they feel about it in the comments.
I want to say one thing. If you're gonna put a clip from another movie in your movie, you better be as good as that movie. And they were aiming really high. Did you see what movie they're watching?
No.
Night of the Living Dead.
They're watching Night of the Living Dead, specifically the scene where he's like lights the dead on fire, and he goes, "Yeah, you light them on fire. They're dead. They're all screwed up." Like, so like they tribute Night of the Living Dead.
Well,
That's a hard thing to deliver.
And well, it's another indie low budget masterpiece. So yeah, I guess.
Which is
I think
better
they
than
did a
this
great
movie.
job of what
it's
they have.
the indie low budget masterpiece horror film.
I apologize, Abram. Yes.
I mean, I'm not saying that because I don't have any skin in the game. I really
Well,
don't.
no, it is
Well, like,
1968.
everyone
it came out
knows
in
that.
Yeah,
That's not like-
1968. There really
That's the
weren't.
heavyweight undisputed champion of indie horror
It was
film.
made by people in Pittsburgh who only shot commercials and weddings and stuff like that.
And also, that's why you could buy the original Night of the Living Dead for like $3 in any bin in America. Because they're
Because
always
they
like the
get the
$2
rights.
DVDs, Night of the Living Dead, because everybody has the license, which is, I think, phenomenal. You know,
It's phenomenal that Romero didn't make a dime on his first movie.
no, he didn't. He's
Yeah.
a genius, though. I want to check out
Legend.
Martin. Is that his vampire one?
There's
Anyway,
a 3-hour cut now of Martin, supposedly.
I heard it was good, actually. That's kind of cool. So, whose turn is it next to choose a film?
Yeah,
It's Judy's turn?
Is it me?
yeah.
I think it's me. So I have
So-
an idea.
What is it?
Am I giving you guys choices or can I just pick it?
It's up to you.
What
I
do
mean,
you
if you
really
pick
want to
it,
do?
Pick it.
Really excited about this one. I actually have not watched this film yet.
Okay.
But we had an energy contractor over the day and I mentioned this and I was like, do you know any obscure films? And he told me about this one and I was like, that one sounds amazing. So let me read you guys a little bit of the synopsis, see if any of you have watched this film.
Yeah, let me see if I could guess.
Okay, I'm not gonna
Wait, what? Do you know what year it came out?
2010.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so 2010 English language French independent horror film about a tire that comes to life and kills people with psychokinetic powers.
Oh.
It was directed and written by Quentin Dupieux. The film was produced by Realism Films. It was shown at the Cannes Film Festival in 2010. It's about a psychokinetic tire.
Yeah, I heard about this.
It's a
It was
horror
a
comedy.
it was a reboot of a 1970s film. I forget. What is it called?
Rubber.
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 Beautifully bad.
Rubber
It's good.
2010.
Rubber.
2010, correct? Hold it closer.
Where is Rubber
Okay.
available?
I believe it's on Amazon Prime for like $3.
All right.
Okay.
Who? Okay.
It might be the worst hour and a half that we could
Hey.
spend, but
Well,
I
what
watched
were your
the
other
trailer
ideas?
and it was like, this looks gloriously bad.
I mean, it looks
Alright.
like a train wreck, but which is fine. That's what one of the things we do here. But
We might all just rag on this film, but I don't know.
Well, that's cool. That's cool. We haven't done that yet.
Though that it says it was shown at Cannes Film Festival where it received positive reviews from critics.
Well, Con is if they
It's
could
the
pay
French.
for it.
It's a French
it was
film.
made
Honestly.
by a French person.
Yes. Budget was $800,000.
Yeah,
Yeah, I want to see this.
All right.
I'll see it. I love hating on French.
Yeah,
Well-
Rotten Tomatoes
Well, we
gave it
haven't.
So,
9% rating.
like even my favorite French, like I realized I went through a phase with French film when I was younger. I got into all the artsy, great French filmmakers, and I still like those films. But the French do not know how to tell stories. I mean, they are absolutely inept at storytelling. They still can make good films, which is a testament to all the other things that they do well in a movie.
Huh.
But my goodness, are they the
Cyrano
worst?
de Bergerac. Come
Can I
on.
add? No,
I'm
Abe,
not saying that there aren't. I'm talking about like from Fellini onward. I'm not talking about the whole history of French literature.
wait, let me, Abram. I agree,
I think it's
because
Italian.
the French crime dramas are horrible. I think you're right because the French they more go on themes and feelings.
Yeah.
They're more on themes, which
I
is
think
cool.
what happened is when they started to decline as an empire, their entire like population became overly overly like betaed out. I don't know how else to say it.
You said it, baby. That was it.
They got super betaed, and everything became about feelings and poetry and forgot about good old fashioned storytelling.
We are not about storytelling. We're about oral sex.
Well,
now.
when
You're
you're
about
a-
cigarettes.
You're about decadence.
Straight at
And
my mouth.
Fromage cheese
I think it's a sign of them being in
Cafes.
their decadent phase of their cycle.
Oh,
And
because
that's
we like
okay.
being lovers, we're decadent now. Okay.
Yeah,
American.
it's because you don't have any innovation or doing anything or anything. That's fine. Still make good cheese and wine. I love the French.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stop. We'll have plenty of opportunity to rag on the French next
After
time we
rubber.
do
But
this.
if
I'm
you
I'm
guys
excited about this. What?
click subscribe. So anyone who's watching, click subscribe.
And
Go watch
click
this
like too.
Yes. I'm just going to read one little clip of a review that I really like the way that this is written. It's just like a sentence. It says, Twitch Film gave the film a positive review, saying it was, quote, impeccably shot, scored, and designed. And the film is intellectual wankery of the highest order in the sheepskin of a B film of the lowest order.
Wow.
Okay.
I
I'm
just
sold.
hope there's close-ups of like men and women like that with a tire just rolling back and forth.
Oh, it's got telekinetic powers.
Okay.
It uses its tire mind.
Okay.
Watch
It's Professor X is a tire.
Just watch
That's
this.
America, baby.
Have really low expectations. This film is not like Oscar. I haven't seen it yet. I've only watched the trailer.
No,
but
I think it's
It's
cool.
one of those films, I think, where it's just like you're going to just have fun. You know, you're not going in to have this like intellectual experience and like be emotionally moved by it.
No, but
a
also
dumb
none of us
movie.
have seen
That's
it
great.
before. We
No.
only recommended movies we have seen. I guess we
Yeah,
did
this
zombie.
is cool. This is a new.
Yeah.
Well, I'm
We're all
breaking
gonna
the
explore.
rules then.
And
No,
we
we're
can
all gonna
blame
explore.
the handyman, right? If it's bad.
I even like bad movies. I like bad movies. There's nothing wrong with bad movies, honestly, as far as I'm concerned.
No, I've got a
I
really,
heard about it
really good
yesterday,
bad
so that's
movie
fine.
for you guys. Believe me, I'm gonna pay you guys back hardcore for. I'm gonna watch you guys make
Watch
us.
Zombies and Rubber.
What's that?
Watch a back-to-back, a double feature of Zombies and Rubber.
Zombies and rubber.
Zombies
Everyone
2.
hate me.
Zombies 2 and Rubber.
Oh,
because
Zombies
we already
2.
saw Zombies 1.
You know, if they're making Zombies 3, we could do Zombies 2 and
No,
then Zombies 3
I'm
and have a
serious.
trilogy.
I seriously have the worst movie I've ever seen that you'll be dying laughing the entire time. But
Yeah.
that's for several weeks.
I have a Brando trilogy. I have a Brando trilogy.
Of bad
Trilogy?
Brando movies?
Yeah. Well, one is a good Brando movie, but it was poorly received. It was his first movie called The Boys. And then Appaloosa, which is actually I have four. We'll take out Appaloosa and we'll do One-Eyed Jacks and
She directed.
which is the only thing he directed, and Peckinpah wrote it. And then which is the one he did with Nicholson?
Yeah.
Did a Western with Nicholson.
He did another one. It wasn't
Yeah.
that one.
Yeah, but he's insane in that one too. So those would be my three Brando picks. We did bad Brando movies.
I'm about it.
Because everyone's
This
gonna have a
one has a
Brando
cult
one.
following, I'll say. So.
What?
That's
Rubber
good.
has a cult following. It's so bad it has a cult following.
Rubber has a cult following.
Apparently.
Of course it has a cult following. I'm excited for this movie.
There's a series
frankly.
of things like The Lift where like objects, The Lift is about a killer elevator. Like this is object horror.
Yeah.
And
And
a
we
killer
never done-
bed.
Yes.
There's one about a killer bed too.
There's also, what is it, Christine?
Christine the Car,
Yeah, I always forget that's a John Carpenter. I always forget about that one.
Stephen King, John Carpenter.
Yeah. Oh,
John
I
Carpenter.
thought you'd be very proud. My daughter asked me if we could watch that whale movie again.
it's Richard
The one
Harris.
that gave her nightmares?
The one that gave her nightmares. Yeah, she's been really asking about like death and blood lately. She's like, "Can you show me a picture of a real vampire?" And I was like, "They don't really exist."
How old is she?
She's almost 5. And
Yeah,
then
that's
she's
about-
like, "What does a
that's-
vampire bite look like?" So I'm looking it up, and she's like, "Do you have one with more blood?"
Get out
I
of
was
here.
like,
She
"This
did
is-
not
this
say
is
that.
My daughter, she's like,
Awesome.
and I go, "No, honey, that would be like really gory, and I don't want to show you. That might scare you." She goes, "Well, how about medium blood?"
What? She's negotiating for more blood?
We'll have to do an earlier episode, and maybe if there's a PG movie, we could have her review. Her reviews are great. They're like, I really liked it because I like it. And it's like profound. Just, I don't know. I'm totally getting off track, but sometimes when you ask kids their like opinion of something, it's just
I like it because I like it.
because it's just good. Like, don't you get that? I wish I had the confidence.
They're like little miniature teenagers.
Yes. But I just thought it was hilarious. She saw a picture of a whale and she goes, "That's I forget what she called it." And I said, "No, that's an orc." I said, "Remember?" She goes, Can we watch that movie again?"
See, she's got good taste.
Grows on her.
Everyone's kids should watch movies with me. Every one of them. I have a list.
Just supervise.
Yeah. Have you showed her Pinocchio yet? That's a cautionary tale.
No.
Show her Pinocchio. Say, this is what happens if you drink and smoke and wander away to be an actor.
You turn
from
into
mommy and daddy.
You turn into a donkey.
Turn into a donkey.
That she is a triple threat. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she wants to have her YouTube channel called Sassy Lassie. I'll send you her intro.
Sassy
Also-
Lassie?
She made up the name Sassy Lassie. I don't know where it comes from.
Wow.
Great.
Yeah,
That's
and she
great.
likes to say, "Smash the subscribe button." So anyway, we should wrap this up. So anybody who's watched this long and has put up with this for this long, smash that
Smash.
like button
Smash it.
And click
smash the
subscribe.
button.
Smash the subscribe button.
Smash it. Smash it.
You can always unsubscribe later. It doesn't cost you anything.
It doesn't cost you anything. We don't know how it hurts the algorithm.
I dare you to leave a comment.
All right, cool. I'm gonna click off now.
Toss us into the void now. Into the void. Ah!